second day of Eid al-Adha. Let me congratulate all Muslims around the globe for a happy Eid al-Adha and a blessed one for all people around the globe. Muslims around the world are celebrating Eid al-Adha. This is one of the most sacred two festivals or festivities in the Muslim calendar. The holy day, also known as the Feast of Sacrifice or the Greater Eid. The Greater Eid commemorates the willingness of Ibrahim to sacrifice his son Ismail as an act of obedience to Allah and Allah's mercy in putting a lamb in Ismail's place at the last moment. Eid also marks the end of the Hajj or the pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia. It's a beautiful time for families to get together. It's a beautiful time for good deeds. It's a blessed times during the whole year. I guess all Muslims wait for those beautiful moments to spend with the family and to do all what they aspired for during the whole year, just during those blessed moments. This is what we are going to speak today. A happy Eid for all Muslims around the globe. Let me welcome our guest, Dr. Mohamed Naguib Abu Zeid, professor at the ASC. Thank you very much for joining us and happy Eid for you.
Happy Eid for you and for all the audience.
Thank you. Before we start with our discussion, let's first have this quick report and Eid al-Adha in the whole Arab and Muslim world. Let's watch.
Let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on, let's celebrate. Eid Said, let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on, let's celebrate, celebrate. Let's celebrate. Allah, Allah, thank you for this day.
Eid al-Adha is the second of two Islamic festivals celebrated by Muslims all over the world. The first, Eid al-Fitr, was richly celebrated in June as the Ramadan period of fasting and late-night feasting came to an end. Eid al-Adha is observed by 1.6 billion people across the world and marks one of the most important events in the Islamic calendar. Muslim worshippers around the world gathered at mosques for dawn prayers to mark the beginning of the four-day Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Adha, the Feast of Sacrifice, marks the end of Hajj, an annual pilgrimage undertaken by some 1.5 million Muslims this year in Saudi Arabia. The holiday commemorates Prophet Ibrahim's willingness to obey God's command to sacrifice his son Ismail. Muslims believe that the very moment Ibrahim raised the knife, God told him to stop, that he had passed the test, and to replace Ismail with a sacrificial ram. Muslims worldwide traditionally slaughter sheep or cattle in commemoration. The meat is distributed among the family and neighbors as well as the poor and needy. But before the slaughter, men, women and children alike flock to mosques around the country to take part in the prayers. Across the Muslim world, families were in a festive mood as they took to the markets and malls on Monday night preparing to mark the occasion. In Saudi Arabia, throngs of Muslim pilgrims converged Monday of Muzdalifah to prepare for Eid al-Adha feast after a day of prayer on Mount Arafat. The faithful will spend the night in Muzdalifah to collect stones, which they use a symbolic ritual of stoning the devil in nearby Mina on Tuesday, the first day of the Feast of Sacrifice. Early in the day, men, women and children from across the Muslim world flooded the roads to Arafat chanting Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik as they observed the peak of the Hajj. The charitable practices of Muslims are demonstrated during Eid al-Adha by efforts to see that no impoverished person is left without a share in the sacrificial meal during these days. Many believe that even though Eid al-Adha comes once a year, the spirit of sacrifice and peace should remain all year round.
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك له لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك.
Right, welcome back. All those blessed moments and moments that are filled with mercy of Allah. This is a great celebration for all Muslims around the world. And let me ask you, sir, what is the significance of celebrating Eid al-Adha in the Muslim world? I guess our audience outside would not understand really how significant it is for us to celebrate such Eid.
This feast is perhaps the largest feast for the Muslim nation as a whole. And as your nice report pointed out, it's come at the end of actually 10 holy days in the month of Dhul Hijjah, in the Islamic calendar, of course. And actually 9 days, the 10th is the feast, as you know, and it's for 4 days. These 4 days symbolize actually the spirit of sacrifice, the spirit of peace, joy. Many, not all, but most of the Muslims, they try to fast as many days as they can of these 10 days. And then comes the day of the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the day of the feast, to celebrate that. And to commemorate, as you said in your nice introduction, Abraham, when he actually had the lamb coming from the sky to, you know, like, instead of slaughtering his own son Ismail as such. So it's an important feast, it's the largest one, and actually happens during that time, and after which, with very few days, as you said, it concludes the Hajj. Hajj is the largest gathering on planet Earth of any human being, and it happens every year. There is no single event on planet Earth that's even close in terms of its magnitude to the Hajj, with all this multitude of people from a variety of nations that are doing the exact same kind of rituals, steps, prayers, tawaf, or going around the Kaaba, almost all of them at the same time, actually in the same time, which is one of, I look at that itself as a miracle that happens every year and brings that kind of spirit to the entire world, not just to the Muslim world.
I have to wonder, and I'll ask you as an engineer, why is tawaf this way around, not the other side?
People have actually, that's a very good question actually, and let me just answer you in another way. Have you noticed that when people go running in the track in any competition, they also go in that direction, the direction of anti-clockwise, not clockwise? They say, and of course there is a debate about this, that this is the direction that's most comfortable to the beating heart of human being, because when you do that, the heart is to the inside and you revolve around that. So from the left side and you're going around this. So they say it's the more comforting one for the human being to do this kind of circles. And I personally, of course, you wouldn't go to Tawaf and to Kaaba to try to experiment on that. At least I haven't done that.
Definitely not, but it was a wonder.
But when you try to do that, when you go, for example, in a track when it's empty, when there isn't much people, whether it's a soccer field track or a horse track, and you try to run in the other direction, it's truly exhausting. You feel more comfortable doing it that way. So I think it has to do with the kind of the direction of this. And if you were to continue also on that, it comes also, you'll find in many of these rituals the number 7, which is one of the most wonderful numbers that comes in
True.
the belief itself in so many things. So
yes, number 7,
yes,
indeed.
7 times, you know.
The tawaf 7 times, yes, the sa'i.
7 times, 7 skies, Mathani Saba in the Quran al-Kareem. There are so many things for which you can use the number 7 as well.
Very much indeed. If we speak about the occasion, and the occasion itself, and what does this occasion bring about? The feelings, the happiness it brings.
Exactly. when I speak to you now and to the viewers, I remember myself now, but I also go back several decades when I was a little kid and think about the Eid in all of these years. There is something very nice during the day of the Eid, and I think I'm not exaggerating when I say that. When you get up in the day of the Eid and you just open the window and you look outside, you feel that it's a day of Eid. Why and how? There is the kind of happiness you see on the street, on the simple layman, on the people going out, on the people celebrating in Egypt and other countries, but of course, without being biased, you see a little bit of more celebration in Egypt and within the Egyptians, and that the new clothes and they're going out. And I see it more these days on the simpler people and the people who don't have so much, because it's a day for joy. And I think the ability of any human being to find the day and the occasion, the solidarity with the family, that's very important. Egyptians have endured so many things through their history by being close together. Eid is also a symbol of solidarity. The first thing we'll ask any family, what are you going to do during the Eid? They say, first we're going to visit either my in-laws or our grandmother, or we spend, and then we go somewhere else after that. So there's always this kind of celebration, being together. Many of the Egyptians are coming from Delta or from Upper Egypt, or they have their origin there, and you'll find a day or two before the Eid, or the latest, at the Eid day itself, many people, those who can afford it, they slaughter a sheep and then they distribute the meat and so on, and then they go right away to their families in their own village. So they go also to the roots. So the Eid is also a moment not only to celebrate by ourselves, but to celebrate with our roots, with our families, with our uncles or aunts, that maybe the year elapses without having a good time or a good chance to talk with them. So it's a genuine kind of happiness, not just one that it's like that lasts 1 hour or 2 hours and then it's over. No, it's more than that.
Well, you said something at the middle of your statements that is very much true. Eid in Egypt, in Egypt is very special. I mean here that Eid is celebrated worldwide and in Muslim countries, in other countries. But in Egypt it has its own taste that I've never felt it in any other country in the whole world, even in the Arab world.
I will say several things for that. The answer is yes. And again, other countries, and I've been during Eid al-Adha in some other countries, Arab countries, I felt also or had quite nice memories there. But the joy here is a little bit more vivid. Several things. First of all, Egyptians like to go out in Eid and spend quite some time outside. And Egypt is known to have a very large population of youngsters. So when you go to Eid, and particularly after 5 or 6 p.m. during sunset or after sunset, like that, a little bit before, a little bit after, you'll find quite a very large numbers everywhere. And there are areas in Egypt and in Cairo in particular that you will find them known to be with a lot of people. I'm sure you agree with me, if the area of the zoo, the area of the pyramids. Nowadays, the Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Adha is coming in the middle of the summer or somewhere sometime in the summer. So I'm sure that the beaches are already overfilled with people who are going to celebrate the feast there. So it's quite large in magnitude, and the rituals of the Egyptians that are there.
Is it the culture of Egyptians that we are vivid people, we
Yes,
like life?
definitely.
And
Definitely. It is my opinion, I think many people will agree with me, Egyptians by nature are people who like to laugh, to celebrate, to be in good mood. One thing, and I really kid you not, sometimes I walk, not necessarily during the Eid time, over some of the, let's say, bridge, Qasr Nil bridge here, and just look to the people. Even if you're busy or having some kind of things that are worrying you, whether at work or at life in general, just look to the simple people. They may not have much money in their pockets, but they are really happy. They want to be happy. And I think this is not something that's belonging to this generation only. It's a genetic thing, in my view, that has been there over the thousands of years. When you have a nation that endured so many tough times, a lot of difficult times, and I can talk about that for hours if you like. And they are still there, and that's power, the power of being. They say happiness is a choice, and the Egyptian people choose always to be, and they do it by a smile, do it by a joke, even on themselves, and they keep going as such. I have to say also, in fairness to your nice question, I have been in 2 nations personally, and if you like, in Tunisia and in Morocco, in 2 different occasions during Eid al-Adha. And also have seen very nice celebrations there. And for them, in both countries, the act of slaughtering the sheep and giving the meat and distribute is so much sacred that you will find even the simple people way ahead of Eid. They are saving money so as they'll be able, although they shouldn't because they don't have that much money, so as they make sure that they will have a sheep and they will. So it's also their own kind of serene, happy moment to celebrate the Eid.
Yes.
So,
indeed, it's the time of good deeds to be done, and if we speak about time of good deed, then we have to say that it is an occasion and a chance to speak real Islam, the real essence of Islam, and retrieve the real values of it, because it seems like we have lost the real essence of Islam, the real principles, the real Islam. How is it a chance for that, and how can we together speak or reveal the real essence of Islam, particularly during those days, to just make people remember their own religion?
Exactly. As I start this, I will say this, and I mean it with a good spirit, since it's Eid today. This is the only feast in any nation, any country in the world, that lasts for 5 days. You have the Waqfa, and you have 4 days. Christmas, New Year, Thanksgiving, all these feasts last 1 or 2 days, 3 maximum. But this is the one feast that you have like 5 days off anywhere. Of course, some countries like Saudi Arabia have their own kind of actually extended vacation because of they have to take care of Hajj and so on. I would like to respond to your very valid question, because I asked myself this question. One famous politician in one of the Muslim countries one day in one of his speeches was talking about education, modernization, the need to restructure the nation, their nation, and get more investment and all these nice modern ideas and modern thoughts. So at the end of his speech, somebody asked him, what about religion? What about Islam? And his answer was, I was actually talking about religion, I was actually talking about Islam. Because Islam and religion is about modernization, is about developing ourselves, is about doing good things. You and the viewers know that there are so many famous stories, somebody sitting in a mosque and praying day and night, and when asked, why are you doing that, say, my brother is taking care of me and my own family. And the answer to him was that your brother is closer to God than you. So worshipping and the belief itself is in the heart, but it has to be translated into some good deeds here and there. Of course, and Egypt has been, and inshallah it will not be a long time before we totally abolish terrorism, as difficult and challenging that is. But you have extremism throughout the world. You have people with wrong impressions, understanding, perceptions, and practices of Islam. And there are many people who can speak about Islam better than I do, but I think we all know that Islam in its essence is about being a moderate religion, never to this extreme, never to that extreme. And always the saying in Islam is that if there are two things or different choices, always choose the one that's simpler and easier to do, as long as it's not something bad.
It is exactly the call of Islam.
So
the simplest.
Exactly, to do things in a simple way, not in a complete, not to be in any way of Hajj itself. You were in your nice introduction talking about Hajj and pilgrim. I mean, it's written like this: Hajj for those who can do it, who can afford it. So Siyam, fasting, the same thing. So all of these show the real spirit and the true essence of Islam that I like very much to stress, and I'm so happy that in the last few years our also leadership is vigilant about that, and in almost each and every occasion this message is being sent to the young generation, even to our imams and to our religious leaders of all religions, to try to convey that to the younger generation.
Yes. Before we continue on with our discussion, let's have a very quick break in this beautiful song and we'll come back.
يا من أتيت فزدت حبنا أسعدتنا وجمعت شملنا أنت هدية من الله لنا بعد انتظارنا لك طول السنة فيك السرور والهنا حمدا لك يا ربنا عيد سعيد. Let's enjoy this happy day. عيد مبارك, come on let's celebrate. عيد سعيد, let's enjoy this happy day. عيد مبارك, come on let's celebrate, celebrate. Let's celebrate. Allah Allah, thank you for this day. Feeling so good, smiles and greetings everywhere. Eid Mubarak to everyone out there. Whole families together and celebrate. Today's the day, so come on, no time to waste. Sometimes the world takes us so far, though miles apart. Still you're in my heart. Eid Saeed, let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on let's celebrate. Eid Saeed, let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on let's celebrate, celebrate. Let's celebrate. Allah Allah, thank you for this day. Let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on let's celebrate. Eid Saeed, let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on let's celebrate. Eid Saeed, let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on let's celebrate. Eid Saeed, let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on let's celebrate, celebrate. Let's celebrate. Allah Allah, thank you for this day.
Welcome back. And let me get back to you and the beautiful days of Eid al-Adha, and tell me, what should Muslims be doing during those blessed days?
In general, Muslims, in my view, have to strike a balance between two things. The rituals and the worship part, which they have to abide to, but also we owe to our families and to our community to be happy. It was meant to be days of joy. Joy not in any exaggerated or in any inappropriate form. I say that because sometimes we hear about people and youngsters in the streets, sometimes they go a bit offline during their celebration or their happens about that. It's a day also to enjoy things, and I mean by things here, it's food, it's family, it's gathering, and also to remember the poor, the people who can't afford, for example, to buy this kind of thing. So it's a day that we give to others. It's a day, when I was using earlier the word solidarity in its global sense, not just in giving something or one particular thing. Muslims during these days also should get some kind of chance to rest a little bit, to spend time with their families. We all know that if you talk about the average Egyptian man or woman, life is not very easy in terms of work, in terms of struggle for life. I mean, that's our destiny on earth as a human beings in general. So spend time with the family. It's not appropriate that there comes the Eid and you go and sit by yourself on a cafe or on your own. You want to spend time with your family as much as possible and convey that kind of joy for them. Families, as you said in your nice introduction, are waiting for these moments to celebrate. Also, it's a time for forgiveness.
Yes, indeed.
You have to forgive. I mean, and that's the power of forgiveness. In every family, in every kind of community, there are these disagreements. It's so nice, so beautiful to start the Eid by just saying greetings and kullu salam wa tayyib to her or to him, and even to go there and to invite them. And if there is anything that's still there between the family, you just go there as if nothing is there. That's really the real essence of forgiveness and of celebration. And I assure you, in almost every example I would remember, because I have witnessed at least once in my life something like that, when people were in tears, when the person that they haven't spoken with for months or 2 months suddenly came and just hugging and kissing and happy birthday or happy Eid to you. But in the case I remember, it was also a birthday for that person. So it was everything being celebrated at the same time. But really, it brings very nice. So it's time of forgiveness and time of serenity in that case.
Yes. As we were showing some parts of the Hajj, exactly as it is shown here in the plasma, and all those people coming together to make the rituals of pilgrimage, and those are the throwing of stones. How do those days matter for Muslims? Because of course Eid is the end of Hajj and the start of celebrations. How do those days matter so much for Muslims, and just for people to understand why those rituals or why Hajj is very, very sacred for us?
Of course, as I will go to my own knowledge about Hajj and about Islam, and I'm not going to volunteer too much more than I should in this direction, but I will say, it's even written in the Quran itself. It's rituals. It's something that we're asked to do, if we, at least once in our lifetimes, if we can afford to do it. But also, there are so many benefits for that. It's the biggest gathering, as I said, for Muslims, which is happen to be the biggest gathering of any humans on planet Earth.
Indeed.
There are so many kind of let's say, trade, of business, of communication. You see the power of and I mean it in the very humble and nice sense, but also you feel people from Africa, from Asia. I'm sure some of the viewers remember, if they've been to Kaaba and to Mecca or to Medina, they see very old people who came very long way. In the old days, they came by camels or came, I haven't seen that, or I'm not sure that I've seen any of that, on foot, because that was the wish of their life. Some people, I have seen people who, when they see Kaaba for the first time, they are totally like hysterically in tears, because that was the moment they lived for 50, 60, 70, I don't know how many years. So it's a moment of joy of being with millions of people. One nice thing about, great things actually, not just nice, about Hajj, is that all these people are the same, very simple kind of dress, very simple, just to cover barely. Some people symbolize that, but it's like we were just born and just something very simple around us, because you are in between, or the hands of God, just going there to try to get forgiveness. Here now, talk about forgiveness from God, that God will forgive us for they say a Hajj, when he or she has properly finished the rituals, when they go back as innocent as the day he was born, as a little child or something like that. So it's the power of Islam and the power of the religion itself, and the nice message that Islam has to give to the world. Islam is not the only religion on planet Earth, but it has always to correct the views that are misportrayed about the religion itself. It's a religion based on forgiveness and understanding. And in the worst case, when you discuss with someone, say, okay, you have your own religion, I have mine, and there isn't anything bad between you and me. You follow
no hard feelings.
No hard feelings, exactly.
Also, Eid al-Adha is one of the occasions for pardons, and on that occasion, the President Fattah al-Sisi issued a decree to pardon 513 prisoners. Let's watch the report. As we said, it's a time for pardon. Let's watch.
إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi issued a decree to pardon 513 prisoners on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. The decision to release the prisoners came on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. Regarding presidential pardons, they are customary to national and religious occasions. According to Article 155 of the Constitution, the President is allowed to issue pardons only after a final ruling is issued. However, the perpetrators of certain crimes are not eligible for pardon. These crimes comprise arms trafficking, terrorism, drug trafficking of more than 10 kilograms, heroin trade regardless of the quantity, and revenge killing. Previously, a total of 2,110 prisoners were released on June 15th per a presidential pardon, while 677 others were out on conditional release, marking the first day of Eid al-Fitr. The batch of released prisoners included also 690 debtors, as part of a presidential initiative called Prisons Without Debtors, aiming to release all debtors landing behind bars by paying off their debts. In May, the Interior Ministry's prison department pardoned 447 prisoners on the occasion of Sinai Liberation Day. The Interior Ministry said in a statement that the prison department also found that 473 inmates are qualified for release on parole. The government frequently pardons prisoners during national celebrations. Also in May, President al-Sisi pardoned about 332 prisoners. The pardon list included youths and prisoners with health problems. In October 2016, President al-Sisi announced the formation of a presidential pardon committee for pardoning detainees with charges pending further investigation. On the anniversary of October 6th war, 244 prisoners regained their freedom after receiving a pardon by a presidential decree.
يشفع له حبيبي يا محمد يا ابن عبد الله، تمت الرسالة تمام والحبيب مسك الختام. طول حياتي وفي صلاتي بدعى أصلي وراه. سمعت ابويا وامي بيصلوا عليه،
اللهم صل عليه.
الله حببني في الايمان، حسسني بالامان وتعلقت بيه.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه. نفسي اشوفك في المنام يا رسول الله، وابكي على كتفك وانام يا حبيب الله، وانول شرف لقى صحبتك وخطي في صفوف امتك واتحامى فيك.
محمد نبينا بنوره هدينا، من مكة حبيبي نوره سطع المدينة.
Right, welcome back and back to you, Dr. Naguib. And as we celebrate the feast, we really cannot forget that there are people who are not able to celebrate Eid because maybe they are in wars, instability, because they cannot afford even to celebrate Eid, and they are suffering. How should that, or how should we be reminded of those people? How should we be helping them to celebrate in a way or another, at least through remembrance?
Yes. Couple of things. First of all, there is almost an international norm or agreement that during time of feasts and time of holy celebrations, there shouldn't be wars, there shouldn't be conflicts. On the other hand, there should be supplies, support, time for giving people at least, if it's not joy, to stop the pain and the kind of suffering that sad but true is happening in so many countries around us in our region, in other parts in the world. Also, we have ourselves a role towards so many of the marginalized or disadvantaged groups, the orphans, the people who cannot afford to buy things or to celebrate. So where, if you're talking about the religion, and here I talk about Islam, but almost all other religions as well, time of feast is the time where you try to bring happiness to other people and bring it in a way that's really genuine. So the community is trying to do that and should be doing that. I liked also about the report that was just presented, the fact that even prisoners, there should be some kind of understanding for that. I'm not sure whether this is relevant so much to what we're talking about, but also there are people who have been to, for example, to prison because they couldn't pay a debt or a loan, men and women, and sometimes numbers or the sum is so simple to a rich or an even average family, that they could release their loan and get them out of prison to celebrate that and to go back to their normal life. They are not people who committed real crime other than not being unable to fulfill certain financial obligation in a time that things are not, or life is not easy for so many people.
Was a good gesture from the president, who issued lately a decree that pardons all those who are called gharimat, or those who couldn't pay because they were in debt because of their children. Some that's because of marriages of their children, and on all those things. It was a very nice gesture out of humanity.
Actually, it was in my mind. You are ahead of me. It was in my mind when I said that the gharimat in particular, and again with all what's going on, and with the kind of let's say the challenge of life. Ambitions are high for all families. They want to feed their kids. They want to increase their income. They take loans to try to support their life. And when they couldn't do that, then at least those who can afford it, then they should help. And so this kind of pardon shows the kind of human touch from the president towards these people, and also the human touch from the society towards people who perhaps it's time for them to celebrate the feast with their families.
Yes, indeed. Those days, Islam is really attacked by an inside and an outside kind of attacks. First one is those who are calling themselves Islamists, and those who are really tarnishing the image of Islam in the West's way. And that brings about the Islamophobia, or it increases this Islamophobia as they speak about. From your point of view, how Muslims can really confront such attacks, and what kind of message in celebrations as Eid al-Adha, for an instance, sent to the whole world?
This is a big issue because it was handled and tackled and addressed by so many people in Egypt and outside. And definitely, a guy like me and you and others, viewers who travel abroad, this question is being brought up in one way or another. And if you sit with someone in Europe or in the Far East or in the West in general, he or she, after some time, perhaps tactfully open this topic with you and try to understand what's going on. The very good news on this is that I think any moderately educated person outside Egypt or outside the Arab world and Islamic world realize very well that Islam, this is not the kind of religion, because these kind of phenomena has surfaced only in the last few decades. It wasn't there 100 years ago, or there. It was on a very, very limited scale. So people realize that this is not the religion in its essence. It's something that's happening because of some kind of let's say, a political agenda, because of some time of wrong perceptions, definitely wrong perceptions, and conveying it to other people. So the first thing we need to do to strictly adhere to your nice question is to give the good example. The good example is in us, in acting and behaving as Muslims in the right way, in the way that Islam asks, not exaggerating anything. I don't want to talk about people's privacy in the way they handle things, but definitely good kind of example to provide. The second point is any kind of strange or offline or extreme ideas have to be combated, confronted, addressed by other kind of real essence of Islam. And that's why, and I make no compliment here, it's repeatedly mentioned by the president in so many occasions, addressing all leaders of all the religions, Islam and Christianity in Egypt, to try to bring the real essence of Islam and Christianity to people, to the young generation. They have to understand that. When you look to an old Egyptian movie in the 40s and the 50s and even in the 60s, you would see how Egyptians was and still Egyptians live in kind of harmony without having real issues about religion as such. It's a society that's really acting together and behaving together as one unit without even saying we are two in one. No, we are just one. And that's what I'm trying to say. So providing the example and also providing in ourselves and having the right dialogue in the right way. One last thing I want to say here is that nowadays, the way we convey Islam to people, I mean, are we going to rely only on worship places, whether it's a mosque or a church? What about this huge, endless world of media and social media and?
Now we'll speak about social media.
Okay, all right. Then I will wait.
Because I really have some question on social media, but let me ask you some. Many people say that this correcting the image of Islam, showing the real essence of Islam, and showing the real principles lay only in the hands of prestigious institutions as Al-Azhar. How far do you think this is true? Is Al-Azhar is the only one assigned with taking such a responsibility? Should it lie in the hands of all Muslims, with us as just people, just Muslims, just very normal Muslims, to convey? What do you think?
Azhar has a prime responsibility, definitely. And Azhar, thanks God, is a very powerful, prestigious, deeply rooted institution that's even called the oldest modern university as we know it, if you know. So it has a responsibility, but I like in your question the fact it can never be the role of the Azhar or any institution alone. Where is the role of the family? Where is the role of the school? How can we make sure that the moderate religion is being conveyed throughout the school years and the kindergarten, the pre-scholastic year and so on, and the role of the family of doing that? The real kind of practice for people to understand well and to behave well. And I really stress this fact, it's not the preaching part, it's conveying that and making sure that they are reflecting that into the good moderate deeds throughout everything they are doing. So it's the responsibility of the entire community, and by doing that, and I mean, there are so many, and I like to say there are so, I'm not going to name one particular country or another, but with different models of economic applications, several Islamic nations worldwide are very successful and doing very well. So it's not with far less level of poverty than many other countries that are perhaps more into extremism and so on. So modern or modernization, and Islam is a religion that's open to discussion, to debate, to revitalize itself with everything that's happening and renovate itself with all these kind of new ideas. So we need to follow this kind of path in a rational way and convey it to others.
If we speak, returning back to Eid al-Adha and its habits, and from your point of view, are the habits of yesterday do not exist today? And I mean here, how far did our habits of celebrating Eid has changed from the past to present times?
I'll give you my honest answer for this. The celebration is there, but there are things that used to happen in the past that are happening at a lesser degree these days. If I go, for example, to Eid al-Fitr, I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, for example, this is not Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Fitr, I'm talking about families were gathered together and will actually bake the things for the Eid themselves in their own homes. Nowadays, it's something almost unheard of to do it at homes now, except for very, very, very few families.
I used to do that.
Yes, but you see, it's part of celebration. I mean, and if you want to extrapolate on that, I mean, even villages in Egypt that used to bake their own bread, not just for the Eid, are nowadays buying it from ovens and from stores and from bakeries, things like that. So what I'm saying is that things are happening, but at a lesser degree. And I think it's the ready-made society that try to do things at a faster pace. Well, some of the celebration around the lamb and eating the lamb and slaughtering it. Speaking of that, I would like to say something. Perhaps it's not in your question, because we're talking about Islam and we're talking about the religion. You know, in many countries that I have been to during the Eid, people will slaughter their lambs or their sheep, let's say early morning, and then by 12, 1, 2 maximum, streets, narrow streets are very clean. Islam or any religion is always asking us for this kind of hygiene habits, of this kind of cleanliness. I hope that we also stress, because that's one of the true aspects of Islam. You shouldn't go somewhere and see, you know, I don't want to describe details of that, but to try to maintain, and that's why I say strike a balance between doing the rituals, having joy, and not bother others, and you know, throwing things here and there, and let people really celebrate about that. I want to say something that happened yesterday. I have seen people, and I was so touched by that, people talking to one another, say, please don't forget us during the Eid for some of the meat. Families, some families are really waiting for this kind of you know, celebrations, and so let's make sure that we do our role when it comes to this.
Yes. I have to speak about also, if we're speaking about the habits of the past and the habits of today, and our role to spread what was lost. Before the widespread of this digital technology, the social media, as you were speaking about, and I mean, people during Eid used to greet each other, meeting each other face to face, and now it's like a happy Eid over the Facebook or the Twitter or the Instagram or whatsoever of social media, and there is no kind of real meeting, the warmness of this gatherings. And do you really think that those new technology has really affected interaction between people, lessened the happiness and warmness of those kind of gatherings? And how can we really benefit from technology, but not in the negative way that takes from us our happiness?
Okay. First of all, lovely question, and I love to talk about this particular point because of a personal opinion about that. I'm one of the very few people on this planet, and I say it as a joke, who don't have a Facebook account, because I strongly believe, and that's a personal opinion here, that its disadvantages is actually far exceeds its advantages. But that's a personal opinion, and I'm sure many of the viewers will disagree with me on this, but that's just my opinion. But I want to say that all the dear and close people to me, I do my best, and I learned it from a colleague actually who told me years ago, you pick the phone and you call, hello X, hello Y, hello uncle, hello aunt, and happy Eid, how are you? Even for 1 minute. It doesn't feel the same when you have a message that's perhaps picture taken from somewhere or some poster or from some website, and you send it to the thousands of people on your phone list and so on. And when you receive these messages, it appears as if, I mean, and you get them in the morning of the Eid or the day of the Waqfa or the second day, and you find some of these messages. None of them really touches me as much as a real voice of someone, or someone would like to see me. Will you be, where are you going to be in the Eid? I'm going to be, would you like to come? Come and eat something with us. If you are nearby, come and have iftar with us. You know, in the Islamic world, and particularly in Egypt, the breakfast, which is usually not a simple breakfast during the Eid, it's a heavyweight breakfast, is one of these things we celebrate. So yes, you're right, we have to make sure that we get really not too much indulge into technology that we forget our human touch, those whom we love.
Unfortunately, my time is out here, but Eid is not, and we're still celebrating the beautiful days of Eid al-Adha al-Mubarak. Dr. Mohamed Naguib Abu Zeid, professor at the AUC, we thank you very much for being with us and for celebrating Eid with us.
Thank you, and happy Eid for you and for the viewers and the families.
Thank you so much. Dear viewers, again, happy Eid Adha for you, for all the Muslims around the globe. May you prosper, may your days would be blessed, would it be filled with all the mercy and good deeds. Many thanks for watching.